Yeah, today I just realized, well, not just today, but every now and then, because I'm a real living woman, I have hope, I guess. But this is something they teach the demoralized. They teach them to live in Tomorrowland, faith, hope, all of this extraneous stuff that is not within them. I was even shown in the spirit last night, confirmed, because we're all brainwashed here to a certain extent until we wake up. And I do believe it's a spiritual hand that reaches in and makes that decision. Could even be the archons. They have control over that. And this has to do with past lives and how many times you've been here, what contract you're in this time. And it's kind of like the movie Vanilla Sky when he's calling for tech support. There's certain things, just like how the Egyptians buried themselves trying to jar their memory of where they came from, because the memory wipe is real. But now I'm convinced that for the remnant, the only thing is to get out of here, the exit. The rest of them, whatever they are, they're a variety of things. But they're not like a real living man or woman that has the God spark. And we overuse the word soul, and we don't use spirit enough. I could explain it, but I don't want to anymore. I'm so sick of being these motherfuckers' muse. And now they're using all my content from BitChute to try to find something to talk about that all their little grunts go out and hunt for. And then they all make money because they talk real slow and like that. And they don't offend anybody. Don't make any ripples. You know, they can take my material, run it through the AI machine, and now have a male present it that clearly has never done any of the things to come to these conclusions. They're not his stories. They're not his findings. It's not his research, but that's okay, because nothing here is motherfucking real. It's all plagiarism. All of it. Until then, until you exit this shithole, you're just going to be every man for himself. And I'm always talking about America. But America's cult, unfortunately, spills over into other parts of the world. And as I've said ever since I started doing this, America was all set up by the crown, out of the King of England, Queen of England, whatever. And again, this is where there's certain responsibilities that come under the crown. But I was trying to understand why people can't believe that, even, especially these brainwashed Christians, the members of the Christian cult in Pollyanna doctrine. Actually, the Christian cult that is set up by the Roman Empire, exactly the same today as it ever was. Wondering why they can't believe that you would have an inheritance when you come into this life. Well, they certainly can't accept that if they're sound asleep. And secondly, there's so many, second, third, fourth, fifth, they're sufficiently demoralized to such an extent that and then they live such precocious, fake lives trying to project this image to the world that they're a success. Because the only thing that they honor is success, influence, popularity, and money. If you have those things, you're considered to be a worthwhile individual, especially by a Tucker Fucker Carlson standards. And I can't believe that checkerboard shirt wearing guy is still here. I can't believe it. And they give them all, they always make them look the most popular. They're all fake views. They shadow ban me, and yet you can look at some of these, and again, every now and then, I don't even look at YouTube anymore. I'm done with it. You can look at some of these, I just see their memes, and it's literally like you could go down my list from 5 years ago, and they just go over every single thing I've talked about 5 years ago. Like they just discovered something new. Never once in 6 years has someone said where they saw it or what was the inspiration for it. And they're all men. They have women handlers that have been, I guess, on the attack team for me. One real stupid bimbo. She tries so hard to be pretty, God bless her, but she's just born ugly, inside and out. And copies my format of how I do a video. They copy everything. They can't, and that's why, to me, this place is so boring. It's not, what do they say, that when people imitate you, you should be flattered? It's not flattering. Not in the realm of truth. They don't have anything to offer. They're just here to try to push down the real truth tellers so that they can't make any money, so that they can't be heard, and just make your life miserable. And if you look, I don't know how else you can look at this place. Look at what it passes for leadership. And see, unfortunately, I even listen to women that I really respect, that I think really know what's going on, but they've been brutalized by their systems as well. They have a lot more faith in the American people than I do. And I know that comes from my life experience and how many I've interacted with and how many different job capacities I've worked in, how many different, social, economic spheres I've traveled in. And they're all the same. And maybe it's because they're not a living man or woman. That's what I finally had to come to, because if not, I'm giving them way too much credit, you see? I'm just saying you're a dirtbag when in actuality you're just a demon that shows up as something else. They did this whole UFO thing, the alien stuff, and the medical industrial complex to hide all these creatures within. In other words, there has to be an explanation for how and why someone acts like this. Because of course they're going to infiltrate the schools. And it's like I'll make a video and then I'll go, nah, I'm not going to post that. And then I can look and see where they've already grabbed all my information. They've been doing it for years because they grab it immediately as it comes out of my mouth. And they're already using it and instructing their, whatever the fuck they are, getting out their scripts to read. It's so hard to find a real person that has any cognitive thinking ability to survey what is going on in the world, and much less just talk without a script from their research, from their knowledge. I found another person, but I'm going to, that I can't believe I've never seen. But maybe I'm so suspect anymore. It's Because as soon as I think somebody's real, I'll watch the next video and it shows me what a piece of shit they are. But I don't think that's the case with this one. But that's why all this stuff works, because of what Americans are. The leadership that you see in front of you, for you awake ones, I'm only talking to awake people anyway. No one else would come to a channel like mine. They tolerate it because they are just like them. Christianity is a cult. Anyway, the scripture is, I am the way, the truth, and the life. No one comes to the Father but by me. I think it's Matthew 14, or I can't remember exactly. Maybe I was looking at so many different scriptures, I forget. But Jesus wasn't saying for you to come through him. You have the God. You. So you have to be sufficiently demoralized to know that God doesn't live within inside of you, that you are not God. Otherwise, you couldn't support all these aliens that are running the show here, that are the world order. Like I hear people talk about, oh, this was supposed to be canceled, this was supposed to be done. You know, who's going to do it? Like, who's going to actually implement the necessary processes to close all this down? And then they take my videos, and I've never made one dime in 6 years on anything, not one penny. Now they take my videos, they feed them through the AI machine and make these really elaborate things with my clips. Hours and hours and months and years, days and years that I spent creating videos the old-fashioned way. Yeah, they're not perfectly seamless and all that, but they can take all my work now and just feed it into a machine and make it flawless. Have it give it that real, you know, AI look and feel that we all have so come to love and appreciate, right? With no human. And again, it's easier to say human because it's just one word, but we're living men and women. Chosen is their word, and narcissist is their word. Any words that are listed as a personality disorder or within that context of understanding, if you're an elect, you should throw them out. If you're chosen, don't ever let it come out of your mouth. You're only supporting the system they hide in. Years ago, I said that being empathic is normal for a living man or woman. They made it a classification. Do you see what I mean? It doesn't help to think that, oh, you're a narcissist, I'm an empath, this is why the two shall never meet. No, the empath is a living man or woman, the narcissist is something else entirely. It's a soulless, spiritless creature. Do you understand? And yet you run a truth channel of some kind that you make money with, and you use these words daily to empower them, because your only source of income is YouTube, and you're straddled by the beast. Instead of learning how the money works, we were all born here with everything we need, but you're so afraid. They're all so scared. They're all like the bullies, you know, on the playground in elementary school. The day you stand up to them is the day it stops. And then they take all of our content from people like myself to create their scripts, their movies, all of it. They don't have a creative bone in their body. More than creative, I'm talking about, taking really, these subjects and then trying to make them understandable. And it's all stuff that only the chosen elect can do. We are their louche our entire lives. And all they do is study us. They know before we get here that we're coming, obviously, because if we're being recycled, do you see? They know exactly when you come in. All you got to do is give them a book at a time when men wore dresses. Say this is when they were on the earth. They're all men wearing robes, and they're the only ones that ever knew anything. And this whole system is only set up. It's unbelievable what people believe to justify their inadequateness and how they. I have yet. Now there's one girl that I really love. She's so cute. I wish she were my daughter. She doesn't show herself all the time. She's somebody that could, because she's so darling. And she's black. But I rarely ever hear anyone talk that is black that doesn't have to tell me they're black at some point in time within the video. I should start doing that. I think I will. I'll start saying, and being white, I mean, fuck. That must be awful to always think about the color of your skin, and not in a good way. Or you even go over in the other direction and think of it in a good way. And we're so much better than you and you just don't know it, that kind of whole thing. When none of it has to do with any skin color. You've just bought their programs they set up for you here. If you could design hell, what would it be for you? Like, what would that look like? Burning sulfur? Fire? Really? Like the retards the Christians believe? They don't make any sense. I was listening to some guy trying to talk to one of them, and he just said being a Christian is just common sense to believe all of it. And he couldn't quote a scripture. He couldn't understand a scripture. He had no argument. That's the word they use here. Everything's an argument. And yet he still was defiant that I'm a Christian. Obviously Jesus lived. No, he didn't. There's no proof whatsoever that Jesus lived. He certainly wasn't called Jesus. It means he's us. He's us. Enlightened beings wrote the information and they're coded messages, but you can't understand them, and that's why the church is in place, so you certainly won't understand them. For men in dresses, even though the Bible tells you it's a sin for men to dress as women, but you don't mind. Every single thing the Bible says, the church does the exact opposite of. Everything in this place is completely upside down. Everything. I am the way, the truth, and the life. No one comes to the Father but by me. They always say through me because they've never opened the book and read the scripture. And then what book did they open up? That's a whole other can of worms. Because they create the text, just like in Dark City for every reset. There are historical documents showing how Rockefeller burned all the libraries going into the 19th century and replaced it with all new documentation for the medical, the sciences, and got away with all kinds of natural homeopathic remedies, all of that. But this is the biggest problem, that you believe that you do not deserve to have all of your needs met. that you always believe that they're coming at a later date. The reason I can't achieve anything is because of the order followers. And it's easy to go back and forth. It has been for me. Because order followers need leaders, but now I know that they're not even a living man or woman. That's especially why they need leaders. They, look at what we live in, for you guys that are awake, right? What is this? How do they keep going about their day and acting and even saying on some of these videos, I know what's going on, but I'm not going to change anything. What am I supposed to do? They're not willing to come out of their comfort zone. They're cowards. They're the worst fucking people on the planet, are Americans. They're the virus. They are literally the virus of the world. When you go anywhere and you're white, and in some cases black, like I've heard black people say in Mexico, they're not very tolerant. Black Americans, white Americans, because they have an idea of what you are. I want to wear a t-shirt that says, I hate them all too. You see, and so there comes a time, after 6 years of this, you just go, oh, okay, I get it now. Once you understand all of it, you go, it's pointless. I just don't care. You know what I mean? I see the writing on the wall. They're never going to do anything. I saw that 4 years ago, 5 years ago now. I knew it in my spirit, and yet I was still compelled to do my own research and do all these, and make videos and whatever, try to share it with people. And as soon as I got off the Christian train, that's when it all went sideways. Because it was a slow process, if any of you watched my older videos. And that's why I leave them there, because I want people to see that the transition that I went through, it wasn't change. I hate when people use that word that, oh, you healed. What the fuck does that mean? You changed. No, you woke up. You don't just change. It's evolutionary. You evolve. And it's not like you become anything different than you ever were before. You're revealed. It's the apocalypse. It's personal. See, all these things in the Bible are real, but they're only real for you. It's not a worldwide event. It's your world order, your worldwide event. The apocalypse is called the revealing. I used to say it was the revealing of Jesus Christ. Now I know the apocalypse is the revealing of who I am. Revelation is the revelation of who I am. That's why it always felt so fake for me to sit in those churches. And I could probably count the number of times I've been to church on two hands in my entire life. Always different ones. Never taught anything, ever. In fact, when I was in, 10 years, 15 years ago, I tried to go, I went to Paula White's church 2 or 3 times, and I'd always bring my Bible. Because I would try to read the Bible, and I had questions because there was so much contradictory information. I just wanted some answers from a professional, and not in a, I was still asleep at that time, so I'm not like having any kind of attitude like I do today. And man, they just would brush me off and just look at me funny. Like, how dare you? How dare you even question the Bible? Don't you know? This is the Bible. And so when I did the video on the book of Eli, I just, the whole premise of that movie was outstanding because they tell us so much of what and how they do stuff here in their movies. In the book of Eli, he was blind, literally, just like Paul, right? Denzel Washington, a great actor. But he had to get the book, make sure it stayed safe during the downfall of everything, and everybody needed the book. The bad guys wanted the book. Why? Because you need the book to control humanity. That's how powerful those words are. Look at what they've done. There's never even a crucifixion, and they believe it all over the world for over 400 years in this reset. But again, you have to understand the majority of what's here is not a living man or woman with the spirit of creation in it. It's just like a giant video game. And what I believe happened is that we elected to come here for all different reasons, and then we didn't know they were going to wipe our memory the first time. And then we keep recycling through here until we finally see what it is. That's why you can't wake anyone up. Even if they are real and they have a spirit, it depends on where they're at in their evolutionary evolution. Because now this world is going through a devolution, because the game ultimately comes to an end. I can't believe that. I was trying to think of that Michael Douglas movie. I did a video on it a long time ago on BitChute about the game. And it's very similar to that, I believe. And then the reset, you know, the game ends, the reset happens, and then they do another one. And that's evidenced by all of these castles and palatial estates that are all over the world. And look what is standing next to them. Like even in London and all these different places, you have these square, just steel bars, you know, these buildings that are just hideous, square, rectangles, but mostly square. That's why everything here is created like a cell. That's why the phone is called cell. The phone is literally a cell. It's a cellular phone. I mean, they have all the words interchangeable that tell you exactly what's going on here. And yet we go through I went through the majority of my life and never noticed all the Masonic symbolism and everything. And I didn't even know about Freemasonry. I remember once somebody told me that I just hear you. I didn't hear it personally. Couldn't even tell you how I heard it. But somehow or another, somebody would say something like, "Well, Mormons are Freemasons," and and then in passing, and there would be no elaboration on it, and I'd just go on through my life. Or I heard something about trafficking. I'm like, what is that? What does that mean? So I guess that's what these people are doing, the ones that do nothing. In nursing homes, they call them sitters. And you don't even need to go to a nursing home anymore. These people only sit, and they're sitting in front of a cell, in front of a rectangle, in front of a square. And I do it too. When I'm making a video, I'll never use AI to create shit. It's very apparent those that use it. I know some can use it in a worthwhile way with real stuff, but it's also very obvious when you take one person's information, feed it in, and then get storyline after storyline after storyline from that one person, ad infinitum of bullshit to feed into your fake videos. And it's I'm not watching them. I believe that people don't watch them. I believe, because I worked, in technology for over 25 years, I know that they can, and just by the way I've been treated on YouTube, I never posted videos until 2020. And I was stunned when they would remove them and give me warnings. I'm like, what? Like, that's when I first started. I guess that was a big part of it, why I kept going, because now I was seeing what America really was, that we had no freedom of speech. And they weren't going to let this information out, so I thought, well, shit, if that's the deal, that means it's real. These patents are real, these EOs are real. And I'm watching Trump, or not Trump, because he's been long gone, but I'm watching wherever they're broadcasting from, which is underground in most cases. The CGI shit they put out is pre-recorded. They can make this stuff and show it all at a later date. Their technology is so much more advanced than what we're privy to, even with AI. But it's like, you know, I've been talking about the vaccines forever, how many they get, but I can just look at my videos literally over the last few months, and I see every single thing I do, I'm talking about Vietnam, no vaccines, colostrum, and the woman's milk. And what does he do? They have some kind of press release saying they're going to reduce the number of vaccines for infants. You see what I mean? It just like literally follows it. And then they have all of their order followers, all these motherfucker dick swinging club, I guess to put it nicer, the men's club, right? Gentlemen's club that have their giant podcast that came out of nowhere, all ex-militant motherfuckers, right? We're supposed to go, oh, yes, sir, Green Beret. Oh, yes, sir, you're so amazing. Thank you for your service. Now you're going to do a podcast about Christianity? Fuck you. You're probably a fucking trafficker. Goddamn look like one. And fuck you, Tucker. I know you watch all my shit. At the very least, your little grunts do. They give you my topics so you have something to talk about. I know that you're here forever. Like, I know that. And that's why you hate me so much. You hate people like us. You hate the remnant, the ones that see it all. We see what you are, and you're grotesque. You try to present yourself as being this shiny, special being. And this is what I got when I first figured it out 5.5 years ago. I thought, why would you want the adoration, the admiration of retards, of low IQ, dull individuals? That's before I kind of figured out what a lot of them are. But you see, it doesn't matter to them. They need the worship. They need the juice. The juice is what keeps them going. They had their chance. People, this is why they want you all to think it's coming. Tomorrowland is always out there. The carrot on the stick. Something big's going to happen. It's just around the corner. And we're going to get our money. We're going to get our reparations. And it's all there right now. But it's so much bigger than one might know. I don't think we can change this apparatus, because if you look at it from the perspective of the Gnostics, you know, and how Sophia birthed this, you know what movie is actually perfect to kind of maybe describe it is We Need to Talk About Kevin. Have you ever seen that movie? I just watched it the other night. And I'd seen it a long time ago, but it's just about a woman that birthed a pure psychopath and what it was like trying to raise him. And she certainly didn't parent him in any way, shape, or form. He was spoiled rotten, but nevertheless, he was empty. And the dad gave him a bow and arrow. And one day, he was in high school, he locked the doors, and then he just took his bow and arrow. He'd been practicing over and over, and Dad gave him a better bow for Christmas, right? And he played the parents against one another. And the dad thought that the mother was overreacting when she tried to say that, we got to talk about what he is and what is going on. And then he just massacred, the high school students. And so it's like, it's a good movie to watch, to kind of get kind of a feel for what we're dealing with here about this place. Because she birthed this thing, right? that doesn't have empathy, that is a black hole. And you know what he said that I found so interesting? Maybe I'll stick it in this video if I post it. I think I will. Like, she'd always go, so what's going on? And he'd always go, well, nothing's going on. Except me. That's all you do is watch people like me. That's all we do when we talk about them, is we're watching psychopaths, we're watching demons, we're watching whatever you want to call them. And that's what was so infuriating for me before I really woke up to it all. It's a process. It's not called change. It's called revelation. It's called apocalypse. And it's personal. And the reason you find these scripts, the hidden text within the script, is because beings like myself are bright enough, cognitive enough, to leave us some hidden truths to help us make our way out of here. That's what it is. And that's what drives your research. It has to become about that ultimately, when you realize that, and it's only for the few that understand, that have the cognitive reasoning, because the archons know truth too. So anyway, the Gnostics believe that this malignant child that Sophia birthed, he is the one that created the majority of the Old Testament that says, I am God and there is no other, that stands below me, above me, beside nothing. I'm it. And it's a malignancy, and it's like a psychopath. And that's what's been in control of this world. And I do believe that there comes a point that without some intervention from outside resources, it cannot continue, because the seed is so corrupted, as I showed years ago through the story about Noah. And it's, I see little Christians out there that are blowing up, and as long as you stay on the Christian tracks, they'll blow you up on YouTube. But once you start to really see what's going on within this Bible, if you're able to, if you're given, the keys to the kingdom, if you're given the sight to see, you will see your views go down. You'll see videos removed, because they're not going to tolerate that. But there is a shift, somewhat, but they're really trying to protect the Christian thing with these big podcasters, showing you one day 1 million views, right? And again, I just look at the meme, because I literally can't listen to Satan talk. I can't. I can only look at memes and get the gist of what they're doing. It's very easy for me to watch how they're trying to, whatever they're doing. Perhaps I'm the only one watching this, for all I know. It's all designed specifically for my game. But yeah, you have to know who you are before you can get out of here. And then you got to still be prepared to, stand your ground and fight to get out after death. That's why all these idiots come back. They're not triune beings to begin with. And they're always going to see what their idea is. Like, if they think heaven, you'll see heaven when you die, and the ones you love and all that bullshit, that's what they'll see. They create it. But if you're all past all that, and you're prepared, it's a whole different thing. And you don't hear from those people because they're never back, unless they choose to recycle again. If they convince you, don't you want to come back and remedy that situation with your mom or your dad or whatever? You don't owe anyone anything. Nobody, nothing. Humans are a virus, just like it said in the Matrix. And again, you don't know what's under the skin. Human. That's why it's important, in my opinion, to look at all the words they make and what they actually mean, the way they use them. The ones in control, the ones in uniform, in one straight line, walking in succession together, matching clothes, matching shirt, matching cars, which we pay for. But not with taxes, with our Sesta QV trusts. And that's why everybody needs to start using bills of exchange. As I said, if we all started doing that, we'd put them out of business tomorrow. It would bankrupt them. See, every single court, these people have a bond they've taken out. You can put them out of business in one afternoon. Too good to be true, right? Sounds too good to be true. You'd rather go in there and act really smart and say, I'm a sovereign, I'm a this, I'm a that. Well, that doesn't work. That's what, but you know, the way you can tell that it has validity, though, is because they created, the agencies created the sovereign citizen word to put out there, movement. So when you, excuse me, when you start coming up against your utility bills and all this stuff, you'll get a form letter saying, we're already fully aware of the sovereign citizen movement. This is against the law, blah, 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 blah. And that's where your expertise and your research comes in, and that your commitment to what is real and true for you comes in. Like, even though I used that example of that woman, of what she could do and should do, if she struck me as somebody that really plays by the rules. I don't know. Because it was really, you know, when you're asleep and you're completely in their system, you will come in with this kind of bleeding heart. You think, oh, I'll just throw myself on the mercy of the court and say, I never meant, you know, to do anything. I'm sorry, you know, I'm sorry, Your Honor. And that was kind of the feel I got from her. So I don't know, maybe that's different now. I have no idea. I've never seen any of her videos. I don't know what the follow-up is. If she's done anything, probably not, I would say. But, because it's like, it's not easy. And most people are looking for easy. They'd rather pay, you know, $25,000, $50,000, $100,000, then understand that every single thing that you've ever done in this world is paid for the moment you sign your name. But then it's going to require you to come up against the beast. It's like you're David, always a man's name, and you're coming up against Goliath. And you only do that when you're on your last loop here. I am the way, the truth, and the life. And no one comes to the Father but by me. No one comes to the Mother but by me.